What do a cursed mining town, a burning underground city, and a desert art installation have in common? They're all ghost towns. But not just any ghost towns. These are places where stories echo through crumbling buildings and where the line between history and legend gets delightfully blurry. Welcome to Pop Culture Passport, your ultimate guide to quirky and cool destinations across the US. I'm your host, Beth Scalacci, aka the Roman Yeti, here to help you dive into the world of theme parks, uncover film and TV locations, and explore quirky museums, roadside attractions, and legendary venues that capture the heart and soul of this unique country. So grab your pop culture passport and let's discover destinations that resonate with your interest, not just with what's trending on social media. Are you ready? Let's roam! Welcome back. Today we are taking a trip that is more ghostly than glamorous, but in the best way possible. We're heading to 8 ghost towns across the country, not just because they've been abandoned or preserved, but because they've got stories to tell. Some are tragic, some are mysterious, and a couple are actually surprisingly fun. But all of them are worth a detour, if you're brave enough. While I haven't been to any of these spots yet, they have definitely made my to visit list. So whether you're a road tripper, a history buff, or just here for the spooky vibes, grab a flashlight and maybe an EMF detector. We're going ghost town hopping. Goodbye, God. I'm going to Bodie. That's what a young girl supposedly wrote in her diary when she found out her family was moving to this wild, dusty town in the eastern Sierra. Bodie, California is the kind of ghost town that almost feels too perfect, like a movie set someone forgot to take down, but it's real and it's preserved in what historians called a state of arrested decay. Now that means the buildings haven't been restored or rebuilt, they're just frozen, like time stamped, sagging and cracking, but still standing. At the peak in the late 1800s, Bodie was booming. Gold fever brought thousands of miners and fortune seekers, and the town quickly gained a reputation for violence, vice, and lawlessness. It had dozens of saloons, opium dens, and red light district. Bodie wasn't just rough around the edges, it was dangerous. But like most gold rush towns, that boom didn't last long. By the 1940s, Bodie was a full-on ghost town. Today, it's a California State Historic Park, and visitors can walk the dusty streets, peer into glass windows, and see what the people left behind. There's still furniture in the homes, bottles on the shelves, chalk on the blackboards in the schoolhouse. And then there's the Bodie curse. A legend says anyone who takes a rock, nail, or any artifact from the town will be cursed with terrible luck until it's returned. Park rangers have received hundreds of returned items over the years, often accompanied by apology letters. Whether it's superstition or karma, I say maybe just take pictures instead. Welcome to Rhyolite, Nevada. This is a boomtown that burned bright and fizzled fast. It's nestled on the edge of Death Valley, and it sprang to life in 1904 when prospectors hit gold in the nearby hills. Almost overnight, Rhyolite became the third largest city in Nevada. It had electricity, a stock exchange, a red light district, and even its own opera house. Go culture. But by 1911, the mine had dried up, investors pulled out, and the people vanished. By 1920, Rhyolite was completely abandoned. So why visit a crumbling desert town? Because Rhyolite is beautiful in its decay. Its most famous landmark is the Bottle House, built in 1906 by a man named Tom Kelly, using over 50,000 glass bottles, most of them beer bottles. And it's still standing and preserved by the Bureau of Land Management. You'll also find the ruins of a 3-story bank, a general store, a railroad depot, and the old jailhouse, all slowly returning to the desert. Rhyolite is a surreal mashup of boomtown history, desert photography, and unexpected creativity. If Bodie is a frozen moment in time, Rhyolite is a reimagined afterlife. Next, we're going to head back to the East Coast and we're going to Centralia, Pennsylvania, which was a quiet coal mining town and it was established in 1860s. But its fate changed in 1962 with one small fire. That fire was set by a local fire department in a trash pit to clean up before Memorial Day. What they didn't realize was that the pit connected to the underground network of abandoned coal mines. The fire caught, spread out underground, and, well, it never stopped. By the 1980s, people started noticing cracks in the road, sinkholes in their yards, and deadly levels of carbon monoxide in their basements. The federal government eventually stepped in and in 1984 offered relocation aid to residents. Most took it, and the houses were demolished. The zip code was revoked, but the fire, well, it still burns today. And if this sounds like a backstory to a horror film, it sort of is. Silent Hill, the cult video game and movie franchise, is supposedly loosely inspired by Centralia. So you can still walk through here, and what's left is supposedly super eerie. So there is a graffiti covered Route 61, and it became like this post apocalyptic art project and locals nicknamed it Graffiti Highway, but now it is closed to the public. There's still a few stubborn residents who have refused to leave and have stayed in their home. And then there's a church that's still holding services every week, surrounded by nothing but grass and cracked pavement. So, what makes Centralia so haunting isn't really the ghost, but the danger that is so real. It's a town that's been slowly erased by fire and time and still faintly hanging on. Now, if you're wondering how iconic this place has become, there's a brewer in Pennsylvania called Troegs Independent Brewing, and they named a beer after it. There is a Graffiti Highway IPA, and it was inspired by the colorful stretch of abandoned Route 61. The beer pays tributes to its history, and according to the marketing director, the landmark's strange and compelling story made it a natural fit for the beer label. I can attest, I have had the beer. I actually had the beer before I started researching this and quickly put one and one, two and two together and figured out the connection and researched it. And it is, in fact, true. So whether you're sipping on a graffiti highway or just reading about this smoldering ghost town from a safe distance, Centralia's legacy does live on. And but I would, maybe not check the place out and see if you can find a Troegs Graffiti Highway instead. Now we're going to head to Arizona, and where we're going to find perched high on Cleopatra Hill between Sedona and Prescott, we're going to find Jerome, Arizona. And it's the kind of place, again, that feels like a movie set. Twisting roads, cliffside views, crumbling staircases, and stories. Of course, so many stories. Founded in the late 1800s, Jerome boomed thanks to one thing. In this case, it was copper. At its peak, the town had over 10,000 residents, most of them miners, gamblers, and so-called working girls. It was a rough, rowdy place, and they were proud of it. A New York newspaper even dubbed it the wickedest town in the West. But as we know, boom towns don't stay booming forever. When copper prices collapsed during the Great Depression, so did Jerome. And by the 1950s, the population dropped to under 100, and the town had officially been labeled a ghost town by the state of Arizona. Well, that's when the artist came, and supposedly also the ghost. So today, Jerome is a creative enclave with galleries, shops, and wine bars tucked in historic buildings. But the paranormal is still part of its DNA. The Jerome Grand Hotel, once the United Verde Hospital, is said to be one of the most haunted hotels in the U.S. Guests have reported screams, whispers, and even ghostly apparitions roaming the halls. One of the most famous spirits is said to be Claude, a maintenance man who died in the elevator shaft. And yes, of course, you can still ride that elevator if you dare. Then there's the Connor Hotel, another reportedly haunted location, and the town's haunted hamburger, where ghostly pranks include turning lights on and off in the kitchen. Jerome manages to straddle two worlds, part Wild West legend, part modern artist haven. And whether you're into ghost hunting or gallery browsing, it's a town that embraces its past and keeps just enough of it alive to keep you on your toes. Now we find ourselves in Bannack, Montana, which was founded in 1862 after gold was discovered along Grasshopper Creek. Within a year, it was swarming with prospectors, and with them came the usual frontier chaos: saloons, brothels, gunfights, and quick draw justice. At its height, the town boasted over 3,000 residents and was briefly the first territorial capital of Montana. But what really put Bannack in the Ghost Town Hall of Fame was its sheriff, Henry Plummer. Plummer was charming, he was respected, and allegedly the leader of a gang of outlaws that robbed and murdered travelers along the trails outside the town. Yes, sheriff and also outlaw. As legend has it, he had a double life. He keeping law and order by day and orchestrating violent roundups at night. Eventually, a group of vigilantes formed and decided they'd have enough. In 1864, they hung Plummer without a trial, along with over 20 others suspected of being part of his gang. Whether he was guilty remains a point of debate, but it cemented Bannack as a place where the line between justice and revenge was thin at best. Today, Bannack is one of the best preserved ghost towns in the country. It's a state park with over 50 historic buildings still standing, which includes a schoolhouse, a church, and the infamous gallows where Plummer met his end. Now, visitors report cold spots, whispers, and sightings of shadowy figures in the windows. Some say you can hear boots creaking on the floorboards of the old hotel or feel a presence while walking through the sheriff's quarter. But perhaps the eeriest thing is how intact it all feels. Like you've stepped into a moment just after everyone left, only to realize maybe not everyone did leave. Now, for the next one, we are gonna go into the Colorado Rockies, 10,000 feet above sea level. Where nestled into those Rockies is St. Elmo, Colorado, which was also once a bustling mining town. Founded in the 1880s during the silver and gold rush, it had everything: a telegraph office, town hall, saloons, of course, a schoolhouse, and even a local newspaper. By 1922, the mining had dried up, and so did the town. Trains stopped running, families moved away, and St. Elmo was officially abandoned. Well, mostly. The Stark family, longtime residents, refused to leave, most notably Annabelle Stark, who became a bit of a local legend. She reportedly stayed in the town until her death in the 1960s, fiercely protective of what remained. Locals say she was eccentric, possibly troubled, and according to some, she never left. Today, St. Elmo is one of the best preserved ghost towns in Colorado, and it still welcomes visitors. The general store is open in the warmer months and sells snacks, souvenirs, and antiques. But it's not just the history drawing people in, it's the hauntings. Visitors and employees report cold spots, flickering lights, objects moving on their own, and even ghostly whispers, especially in and around the general store and hotel. Some say it's Annabelle herself still watching over the place, making sure everything stays just how she left it. There's even a popular local saying, "You don't run St. Elmo. St. Elmo runs you." Add in breathtaking views, chipmunks darting around the buildings, and a good ghost story or two, and you've got the kind of destinations that's as charming as it is chilling. Now we're going to head near the Mexican border to the rugged terrain of the southwest Texas, and we're going to Terlingua, which was once, again, a thriving mining town. And in the late 1800s, are we seeing a theme with the mining towns and dates? But I love it. And so Terlingua was a hotspot for mercury mining, and people were carving out a life here. But again, like most mining towns, the boom didn't last. And by 1940s, the cinnabar dried up, the mining companies folded, and the population dropped to nearly zero. Terlingua became a classic ghost town. But something strange happened. Artists, misfits, and adventurers started drifting in. Desert dwellers, dreamers, people who weren't afraid of ghosts. Or maybe they liked the company. Today, Terlingua is a blend of ruin and revival. Crumbling stone buildings and abandoned mines sit side by side with funky guest house, cantinas, and galleries. Now, if you were wondering why Terlingua maybe sounds familiar, it's because it's also home of the world-famous Terlingua Chili Cook-Off, which is held every November, where thousands gather in the ghost town to compete, camp, and celebrate. And yes, of course it's haunted. Visitors report strange noises from the old Terlingua cemetery, shadowy figures near the mine ruins, and unexplained flickering lights across the hills. Locals tell stories of miners who never clocked out and a lingering energy that seems to hum just under the surface. But Terlingua's ghosts aren't menacing. They feel like part of the landscape, like the desert refuses to forget. So if you're looking for a ghost town where you can stargaze, eat award-winning chili, and maybe share a moment with a miner from 1910, this is your place. Okay, this one, last but not least, we have to head back to California. And founded in 1881 during the silver mining boom, Calico, California once boasted over 500 miners and a population of more than 1,200. It had everything a proper boomtown needed: saloons, schoolhouse, general store, and a whole lot of dust. But again, by the mid 1890s, when silver prices dropped, Calico went quiet. And it might have stayed that way. Just another forgotten dot on the map, if it weren't for Walter Knott. Does the last name Knott sound familiar? Knott? Yes, that Walter Knott, the man behind Knott's Berry Farm. In the 1950s, he purchased Calico and lovingly restored it to resemble its heyday. Many of the buildings you see today are reconstructions using original materials, and the whole place is now a county park and full-blown tourist attraction. You'll find costume interpreters, a narrow gauge railroad, and even staged gunfights. It's part ghost town, part living museum, and part roadside attraction gold mine. Think Old West Disneyland, but with more ghosts and fewer churros. As for the hauntings, Calico has you covered. Visitors and staff report phantom footsteps, sudden cold spots, disembodied voices, and even the sighting of Lucy Lane, a former schoolteacher who may still be keeping an eye on the kids. Paranormal investigators have made frequent stops here, and it is considered one of the most haunted places in Southern California. But unlike more solemn ghost towns, Calico really leans into the fun. So whether you're a ghost hunting, you're panning for gold, or just snagging a photo in front of the sheriff's office, there's something delightfully theatrical about this place. It's a ghost town that doesn't take itself too serious, yet it can still manage to give you a few chills. Now, I do want to give you a few quick travel tips for visiting ghost towns. Please check hours. A lot of these places are open seasonally, so double check before you go. Bring some cash. Some of these remote towns and mom and pops may not take cards. Do not trespass. I feel like if you listen to this podcast, you already know that. You're a responsible traveler. But if it says private property or no entry, please respect that. Some are still partially owned and have restricted access. Mind the altitude. So if you are going to some of the places like St. Elmo or Bannack, they are high up, so be prepared if you're not used to the elevation changes. Remember to fuel up first. These can be in the middle of nowhere, so make sure you have a full tank of gas or a complete electric charge before you head to these ghost towns. And, embrace the vibe. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, lean into the fun, lean into the story. I think there's a little bit of everything for historians and road trippers and ghost hunters in these locations. And whether it's a preserved in time streets of Bodie, or a revived spirit of Jerome, or the desert charm of Terlingua, each of these ghost towns, as you've seen, really just tell a story of our history and a period of time of boom towns and mining and so forth. And some whisper their tales through crumbling buildings, and others shout them through the gift shops and chili cook-offs and souvenir shot glasses. But all of them hold a certain magic, a blend of history, a blend with legend, and just enough quirkiness to make you want to see it for yourself. And with that, we add another stamp to our pop culture passport. I hope that this episode inspires you to get out and explore all that is quirky and cool, even in your own backyard. Follow, download, subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. Please tell a friend and leave a review if you like what we're doing. It really helps us to grow. And you can follow me on Instagram or Facebook. Just search for The Roaming Yeti. And keep roaming and finding your fun.